ये मैंने ऑफ कर दिया. Okay. Hello. ठीक है, कह देता हूँ. ये ऑन क्यों रख रहे हैं? मैं तो इससे बोलूँगा. हाँ, ओके, ठीक है. ठीक है, टाइम क्या हुआ है? Ladies and gentlemen, could I request you to please take your seats so we begin the program? Please, if everybody could take their seats and we begin. We want to begin the program, so once again, a request to take your seats so we can begin. Dr. Ishrat Hussain, Deputy Governors of the State Bank, Mr. Salimullah and Dr. Inayat Hussain, Mr. Khurram Shehzad, Special Advisor to the Finance Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the book launch and storytelling session on Meezan Bank. Back in 2002, at the inauguration ceremony of Meezan Bank, the tilawat was done by Shoaib Siddiqui, a teenager doing his O-levels at the time. The chief guest of the ceremony, the late President Pervez Musharraf, profusely praised his recitation skills. Some 23 years later, I would like to once again call Shoaib Siddiqui to begin the evening with the Tilawat-e-Quran.
Right, assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Ar-Rahman, the infinitely merciful. He taught the Quran, He created insan, He taught him bayan. The sun and the moon move in perfect calculation. The stars and the trees bow in willing submission. He raised the sky high and set the Meezan, the balance. So do not transgress the Meezan and measure with fairness and do not distort the Meezan. He spread the earth for all living things with fruits and date palms, heavy with clusters, grain wrapped in husk and fragrant greens. So which of your Rabb's blessings, signs and favors will you deny? Sadaqallahu al-Azim.
Thank you, Shoaib, for the beautiful kirat. As you heard, this is the surah from which the name Meezan was chosen. My name is Farooq Karim Khan, and I am the Master of Ceremony today. I'm quite an unconventional choice for Master of Ceremony, to be honest. I actually work at UBL Bank, believe it or not. Unconventional is also a theme we will come back to today again and again. It is, after all, the title of the book. A really appropriate title, I feel. Meezan Bank's founding team have definitely not been conventional bankers. In fact, most of them were not bankers at all. Their bold and daring vision, their strategy, and the execution of that strategy have been highly unconventional and highly effective. The subtitle of the book, The Bank That No One Saw Coming, is also largely true. Meezan till 2017 was seen by many to be a bank too small to be taken seriously. And by 2022, it had become a juggernaut against which no one was willing to compete. But Meezan's rise was not an accident, and nor was it an overnight success. In fact, one of the reasons that Irfan Siddiqui asked me to be the MC for today's event is that I am among the early believers in Meezan Bank. In January 2001, we issued the first ever equity research report on Meezan Bank. At the time, Meezan's valuation was 12 billion rupees. Today, it is just shy of 900 billion. I didn't predict that, so, In 2016, we issued another aggressive report predicting that Meezan will soon be a top 5 bank in the country. However, Meezan's actual performance has far exceeded even my own very optimistic expectations. I am often asked what made me a believer in Meezan from such an early stage. I hope the answer to that question unfolds through the speeches and panel discussions we will have today. The book also offers a ringside view of Meezan's almost 3-decade journey so far. This book is the culmination of 5 years of meticulous research done by its author, Saptain Naqvi. Saptain has written numerous books, most notable among them, yes, a round of applause would be great. Most notable among them are his biography of Dr. Ishrat and a history of the IBA. To share his experience of writing on the fascinating journey of Meezan Bank, I would like to call to the stage Saptain Naqvi.
Thank you, Farooq, for your generous words. Looking at your charts right now, I realize that one of my life's biggest regrets is not buying Meezan Bank's shares. But I hope you did because you knew what's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good evening. It was an honor to write the history of institution that has reshaped the financial industry of Pakistan. I would like to start off by thanking Irfan Siddiqui Saab for giving me this amazing opportunity. I first heard of Meezan as a student at the IBA when my finance teacher was discussing interest-free loans. As a student, this was completely new. The idea that a bank would lend without charging interest was unfathomable. Back then, Meezan had just taken over Societe Generale's operations in Pakistan. It was remarkable that a local bank had acquired Pakistan operations of an international bank. However, Islamic banking was still seen by many as an experiment. It was marginal, it was peripheral. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. The financial giants of the world crumbled and stumbled. Yet, Islamic banks came through largely unscathed. This was covered by various publications and organizations like the IMF. And it made me realize that Islamic banking was not just a religious choice, but a sound business decision. By the time Meezan acquired HSBC's operations in 2014, its rise was no longer surprising. It was, in fact, inevitable. Traders, store owners, professionals, they all swore by Meezan. They opened accounts, praised its digital services, trusted its names. Clearly, something extraordinary was happening. Other Islamic banks entered the field. Yet, none could match Meezan's reach, reputation, or resonance. And a big reason about this is the quality of leadership and its continuity. But let me tell you, capturing that aspect, this leadership and its continuity, was a big challenge. Irfan Saab, who knew the story, is humble, almost to a fault. His story is inseparable from Meezan's. For nearly 3 decades, he has remained CEO, first of Al Meezan Investment Bank and then Meezan Bank. This is the longest tenure of any CEO of a bank in Pakistan. Under his watch, in a couple of decades, Meezan rose from being the smallest bank in the country to join the ranks of the top 5. And yet, he always downplayed his role. Whenever I would speak to him about talking about what he did, how he made it happen, he would just say, "It's Allah's blessings, it was a team effort." I had to work very hard to coax a story out of him. And eventually, I said to him that the book is in him. I know the title of the book, under the title, it's my name, Sipta and Naqvi, but it really should be Sipta and Naqvi and Irfan Siddiqui, because it's Irfan Saab's story. And he had to help me bring it out, and finally relented and contributed a reflected note to the book. For me, the decision to write this book was tied to my research on institutions. In Pakistan, we often reduce debates on development to personalities and politics. But institutions, how they're built, how they endure, how they adapt, are equally critical. This is covered by last year's Nobel Prize winners S.M. Moglu and Robinson and the seminal book, Why Nations Fail. Now, Meezan is a case study. How an institution born with ideals can dominate in its industry, drive economic growth while staying true to its mission. Writing the book took years. It meant countless conversations with regulators, industry leaders, Meezan's current and former staff. It meant going through reports, archives, and media articles. It meant searching for the invisible thread that binds Meezan together. That thread was a culture driven by a mission. At Meezan, culture is not an HR slogan. It is visible in every interaction, from the smile of the branch security guard to the authenticity of the group heads. Respect for colleagues is real. The mission is palpable. Toxic politics and self-interest, which consume so many organizations, find no place here. Customers and staff are heard. They trust the leadership. They know decisions will be humane. In a corporate world that often glorifies ruthlessness, Meezan is profoundly unconventional. Its growth proves that values and commercial success go hand in hand. Integrity, humility, and decency are not accessories. They're core strengths that lead to long-term growth. This realization, this interaction with Meezan's leadership, its staff, its people, it changed me. I came to see that organizational success does not come from shortcuts or cold efficiency. It comes from doing the right thing, consistently and with conviction. Working in a mission-driven institution is not only good for the soul, it's also good for professional growth. Meezan embodies many textbook lessons: frugality, bold decision-making, agility, teamwork, succession planning. But what management textbooks often miss is the human side of business. And this is what sets Meezan apart. This is why I designed this book not only as a chronicle of excellence, but also as a guide for students, professionals, and entrepreneurs. Each chapter begins with Finding True North, a summary of its central theme, and ends with Living the Meezan, a takeaway for our own lives. In this way, the book is both narrative and prescriptive. It tells a story, but it also offers lessons to anyone seeking to build something meaningful in their own lives. Of course, a book of this magnitude would not have been possible without support. The Meezan Bank corporate comms team gave invaluable help, and many industry leaders and regulators, some of them who are sitting here right in front, provided critical insights. I'm deeply grateful to my wife and parents for always supporting my writing pursuits. They're the reason I will do what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, Meezan's story is more than the story of a bank. It is a story about what it takes to build something enduring, principled, and unconventional. My hope is that you, the readers, draw lessons from it, not just about Islamic banking, but about leadership, culture, and the timeless power of doing the right thing, as I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sapten. We are grateful that you have written such a comprehensive and readable account of one of corporate Pakistan's great success stories. At the end of our program today, we will be providing each of you with a complimentary copy of the book, so don't forget to take it. The book is published by Liberty Books. It's available online and at their outlets if you wish to purchase additional copies. Sapten, you spoke about institution building, which is a really good segue for me to introduce our next guest, who, to be honest, really needs no introduction. In a country not known for its strong institutions, Dr. Ishrat Hussain has played a pivotal role in building and strengthening the key institutions in our country, including the State Bank of Pakistan, IBA, and, as you will read in the book, Meezan Bank as well. He has penned a wonderful foreword in the book and will also be part of one of our panel discussions later today. Dr. Ishrat, it is my distinct pleasure to request you to share your reflections on the journey of Meezan Bank.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank the organizers of this function who have invited me to share my thoughts this evening. But let me begin by commending the author of this book, Sapten Naqvi, who has spent 5 years in order to bring all the material together and produce this volume. So he deserves our gratitude for the excellent work he has done. For me, it is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you to reflect on a journey that has not only transformed an institution, but has also reshaped the contours of Pakistan's financial landscape. In my brief remarks this evening, I would like to share with you the lessons I have learned from Meezan Bank's history. I have divided this into 3 parts. A, as a model for banking industry as such. Second, as a pioneer in Islamic banking industry. And finally, on leadership and human resource development. Let me begin with the model for the banking industry. Starting from ground zero in 2002, Meezan Bank has risen to become one of Pakistan's top financial institutions, measured by market capitalization, financing, deposits, and earnings in a remarkably short span. It has outpaced long-established competitors, a clear reflection of its exceptional performance and its strategic vision. Its achievements have not gone unnoticed. An independent jury commissioned by the Institute of Bankers has named Meezan Bank the best bank in Pakistan. The question I want to explore this evening is, how did this extraordinary account of ascent unfold. In the world of corporate leadership, we often encounter two archetypes, and this is a subject which I have spent a lot of time reflecting upon when I was at IBA Karachi. We encounter those who are brilliant strategists but falter in execution, and those who are operationally sound but lack a clear sense of direction. Rarely do we find a leader who embodies both, and Irfan Siddiqui is one such rarity. His tenure at Meezan Bank is a testimonial to the power of combining visionary thinking with disciplined execution, anchored in trust, professionalism, and integrity. Professionalism, meritocracy, and integrity, in my humble view, are the cornerstone of trust, building in any institution. When nepotism and favoritism creep in, they erode this very ethos that sustains excellence. Trust, as we know, is not built through slogans or speeches. It is earned through merit, upheld through ethical conduct, and preserved by resisting the corrosive forces of nepotism and favoritism. These values are not just ideals, they are the foundation of sustainable institutions. Meezan Bank's success is not just a story of leadership. It is also a story of enlightened ownership. The major shareholders of Meezan Bank had the wisdom to grant management the autonomy it needed. In return, they received exceptional dividends, not just financial, but reputational. This stands in stark contrast to those who all of you know who believe in micromanagement yields better results. To them, I say, look at Meezan. Learn humility over hubris, patience over haste, and long-term sustainability over short-term extraction. Next, I come to the pioneering role in Islamic banking industry. Before I joined the State Bank of Pakistan, I was intellectually convinced that Islamic banking was not just a religious imperative. It was an economic necessity. Conventional banking, with its reliance on riba, places the entire burden on the borrower. Islamic banking, by contrast, introduces risk sharing, equity, and fairness. It is not merely a financial model, it is a moral framework. Islamic banking has the potential to derive financial inclusion, alleviate poverty, support small farmers and entrepreneurs, and invest in human capital. It can offer affordable housing, improve income distribution, and foster inclusive growth. Unlike capitalism, which often leaves the marginalized behind, or socialism, which collapses under its own weight, I would humbly submit that Islamic finance offers a balanced path, combining efficiency with equity and growth with justice. From a negligible presence 23 years ago, Islamic banking now accounts for nearly a quarter of Pakistan's banking sector. Many businesses that once avoided conventional banking due to religious convictions have found a home in Islamic finance. Idle savings have been mobilized and national investment has grown, and the economy has benefited from Islamic finance. I now move to the leadership and human resource development aspect of Meezan Bank. Let us not forget, leadership is not a solo act. It is a symphony. The progress Meezan Bank has achieved would not have been possible without the devoted teamwork of its staff. What sets them apart is not just competence, it is conviction. They are driven by a sense of mission, not a 9-to-5 mentality. Their commitment to embedding Islamic banking into Pakistan's economic horizon is nothing short of inspirational. The partnership between Irfan Siddiqui and Arif Islam is a model of harmony in a culture like ours, which is often marred by intrigue and rivalry. Succession planning, often given lip service, was executed in Meezan's case with humility and foresight. Even when circumstances changed, the bank adapted, appointing Sayyid Amir Ali, who is a seasoned executive nurtured within Meezan, to lead the next chapter. Technology and human resources, in my view, are the twin engines of any modern institution. Meezan has excelled in both. It has attracted, trained, and retained professionals of high integrity and competence. It has fostered a culture of empathy, collaboration, and ethical conduct. Loyalty at Meezan is a two-way street, nurtured in times of difficulty and repaid in dedication by the staff. Meezan Bank has also contributed generously to the broader Islamic banking ecosystem. Many of its alumni now lead other institutions. Its support for the Center for Excellence in Islamic Finance at IBA, in collaboration with SBP, is shaping the next generation of Islamic finance professionals. And finally, let us acknowledge that Allah's blessing and divine timing also helped. Meezan's entry into Islamic banking coincided with the Supreme Court's landmark judgment mandating a transition to riba-free system. The eyes of the nation, from the President of Pakistan to the Finance Minister to the State Bank, turned to Meezan Bank to lead the way, and lead it did. In conclusion, Meezan Bank's journey is not just a case study, it is a blueprint of how vision, values, and execution can come together to build not just a successful institution, but a movement that promises not just financial returns, but social justice, not just growth, but inclusion, not just banking, but transformation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to guide all of us in our efforts to build a just and equitable financial system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ishrat, for your kind words and for the wise and far-sighted approach with which you have helped institution building in our country. Now we'll begin the first of our two panel discussions. I'll introduce the panel. I'd request the members who are introduced to please come up to the stage as well. The panelists on the first panel are Irfan Siddiqui, the founding CEO of Meezan Bank. Dr. Imran Usmani, a prominent member of Meezan Bank's Sharia board and Vice President of Jamia Darul Uloom Karachi, and Dr. Amir Ali, the Deputy CEO of Meezan Bank. Assalamu alaikum, kaise hain ji? To get the arc of the Meezan story right, I'd like to start this panel slightly unconventionally and to ask the first question from Dr. Ghazala, who's Irfan Siddiqui's wife. She's in the audience, if we could get a mic to her. Dr. Ghazala, you played a major role in convincing Irfan Saab about the religious imperative of Islamic banking. I'd like to ask you, what was your own journey in that regard, and how did you manage to convince him?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the question. Well, if you ask me, my journey with actually my conviction on my Quran, that started somewhere in 1984. That was when I had taken a break from my professional practice. And I decided that I'll spend some time moving on to understanding Quran. It's high time. By then, and we were married and we were in Abu Dhabi then. And when I started doing that, and regularly, and every day was a new day for me. And new chapters and new horizons opened up for me. It was awesome. I decided to share, and automatically I started sharing that in beds where they're fun, in the evenings. And that's where our lifestyle started changing, because the paradigm shift had started taking place. And we were on our way to use a different lens. From there, when we went on to Kuwait, and that's where we chose to actually come back to return to Pakistan without knowing what we'll do. And eventually, when we landed up here, I continued my journey, and I had decided and committed that once I'm back in Pakistan, inshallah, I would love to continue with more structured Quran lessons, because that was a delight. And we were awed by the practicality of the content and the message. And that's where, when one of those classes in Karachi, we came across Surah Baqarah and the verses which state that riba is prohibited, and anyone doing so, that declares it's a war declared against Allah Almighty and His Prophet. I had come across those ayats even before, but this time, the ensuing discussion in the class with my group, that really hit me hard. I came back with very unsettled. And I talked to Irfan in the evening and said that, Irfan, what's this, like, riba and interest, and it's so strictly prohibited, but then that's what exactly you are into. So shouldn't we think of doing something about it and changing? His mind was that, well, our understanding then was that riba and interest are two different things. So the convention, whatever is current riba interest is not same as riba. That required validation. We said we have to get it validated. And that's where, alhamdulillah, fortunately, we found a way. Irfan went to actually Maulana Taqi Usmani Sahab through someone. We didn't know him then. And he validated, he reaffirmed, yes, they are the same. We came back and said, well, now we have to part, and we have to see that what else can you do. After a short deliberation and thinking, it was something that was very unexpected from me. I thought we only have two ways. One way of not actually continuing with banking. But then he came up and he said that I'll explore Islamic banking then, and then inshallah and that means I need to continue doing what I'm doing in the mainstream banking to see to it that what and how to do research and explore Islamic banking. So that's where the story starts, I think, for the rest of what happened later. So
Thank
that
you.
was, he was all, mashallah, he didn't take time to get convinced. It was just that both of us, then we were on the same page, and he said, yes. I was really amazed. I thought, that's wonderful. Let's go. Let's do that. And that's what, alhamdulillah, Allah did.
Thank you, Dr. Ghazala, for sharing that beautiful journey. इरफान साहब, once जब आप convince हो गए थे on Islamic banking, तो आपने अपने options को कैसे देखा? How did you decide what to do next?
Right, thank you, Farooq. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Actually, the conversation which Ghazala was talking about happened in 1992, which was 33 years ago. To be honest, I was in a complete state of denial, and I told her that, in my view, conventional banking and Islamic banking are same. So there's no need to do that. But obviously, once that idea came into the mind, and like she said that I went to meet with Justice Taqi Usmani Sahib, who happens to be Dr. Imran's father and our chairman of our Sharia board now. So he obviously concurred with that view, and I decided that, some alternative course of action need to be taken. So initially I thought, maybe I'll start a small business, or alternatively join some corporate, non-banking corporate. But somehow I felt that both these things were not suitable for me. So the mind actually went that we should start a boutique, small financial institution on Sharia compliant basis, and then let's see how it goes. So after consulting with a lot of people, we came up with an idea of setting up a boutique Mudarba company. So Mudarbas were in fashion those days. They were Sharia compliant, and they required a capital of only 50 million rupees.
Okay.
So this group of people encouraged me that, we'll find a lot of investors who will be interested in co-investing with us. But unfortunately, when we actually did the rounds, the traction was zero. Nobody was interested. I think that was also an act of God, that he didn't wanted me to go in that side.
Okay.
So I was very disappointed as well that, even a small Madarba, nobody is prepared to take a view on this. And then again, few months went by, and then in 1984, I remember it was the month of Ramadan, and I was sitting on my own, probably hungry as well. I thought that, we've done enough analysis till paralysis, no action talk only. So let's do something. So it occurred to me that we should apply for an Islamic investment bank license. The requirement for an investment bank was ₹1 billion capital. So I said to myself that, you failed 3 months ago on raising 50 million rupees. Now we're thinking of 1 billion rupees. But my thinking was that maybe, with that 1 billion capital, you can probably get more serious investors, because 50 million, nobody was willing to come. So I took that leap of faith. I was working with Pak Kuwait Investment Company, which is a joint venture with governments of Pakistan and government of Kuwait. So my first bet was to talk to our board members. So we had 6 board members, 3 from Pakistan, government of Pakistan, 3 from government of Kuwait. So I spoke to them individually, telling them that why we should start up an Islamic investment bank. And alhamdulillah, I think it took some effort, but they all agreed, 100% of them. So with that in my pocket, then I started shopping around in other directions, and especially people who I knew in the Middle East, some directly, some through some friends. And we approached Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah, Islamic Investment Company of the Gulf, which is a part of a DMI group company, and several other companies. And alhamdulillah, within 24 hours, my first response came on a fax that yes, they will be interested. This was IICG Bahrain. And they will not be interested in what I had offered them was only 10%. They said, we'll come up with 25%.
Okay, they wanted more.
तो मैंने कहा उससे बेहतर क्या चीज़ हो सकती है कि वो खुद ही आ रहे हैं 25% पे. तो then we said कि okay, we'll do this as a joint venture between Pak Kuwait and ICG Bahrain, and other shareholders came in. Obviously then we had to apply for the license. License के लिए हमने apply किए. It was the old SCCP was called the CLA. वहाँ apply किए. Ministry of Finance was also part of that equation. लेकिन 2 साल गुजर गए, हमें response तक नहीं मिल रहा था उसका. You know, if we would write letters, we would not get responses. I go and see them, they would say, well, जब होगा तो बता देंगे आपको. So again, that was very frustrating. और मुझे लग रहा था कि शायद ये ना हो पाए. तो but then we'll have to see whether it would go back to our business mindset or go to Send Out Sab and go and work for Agro, because I used to be with Exxon before that. So, but anyway, one day I got a call from Ministry of Finance saying that our then Prime Minister Saiba, Benazir Bhutto, was going for a state visit to Bahrain. And before that state visit, she was sending a group of people headed by Shahid Hassan Khan, who was a minister, to do the preliminary work. And they wanted my help to introduce them to some companies in the GCC, or particularly in Bahrain. So the chairman who we had nominated for our Meezan Investment Bank in the licensing process was Sheikh Ibrahim bin Khalifa Al Khalifa from the royal family of Bahrain, and he was also the current deputy finance minister. So I called him, I told him, Sheikh Ibrahim, these guys are coming. He said, no, I know them because, you know, officially I'm the host from government of Kuwait side. So I said, if you are the host, then what would you talk to them when they're there? So he said, of course, Al Meezan Investment Bank. What else? So then Sheikh Ibrahim, I think, articulated very well, and he took Shahid Hassan Khan to meet with the Deputy Amir, Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Minister, State Bank Governor. Everywhere he went, the ask was that, you know, you come here for foreign investment, but where is the license for Al Meezan Investment Bank? Okay. So Shahid Saab apparently called Islamabad and said that, you know, tell madam that, you know, once the license is issued, then only come. So Alhamdulillah, it was nice of Benazir Sahiba, and may Allah give her reward for that. She approved that license, and overnight, literally overnight, after the closing hours, it was issued, and Alhamdulillah, we started our operations as an investment bank. First 4 years, we were very small, but very profitable. But the business was very limited as an investment bank, sure. Not like a commercial bank. But in 2002, the major breakthrough happened where we acquired the Pakistan operation of Societe Generale, a French bank operating with 4 branches. And that's where we got the first license by Dr. Irshad Hussain. And I'll talk about that in my talk later on today. And that's how we managed to get here, Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Alhamdulillah. Wasn't an easy journey, but the persistence paid off. Dr. Imran, Meezan ki Sharia board ka bada hi pioneering role raha hai in developing not just Meezan Bank, but the Islamic banking industry in Pakistan generally. It's almost been like a kind of a nursery for talent, for human resource, capacity building. Would you like to tell us ke kya hua hai isme in terms of capacity building and HR? What has Meezan's Sharia board contributed?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Amma ba'd. First of all, I'm really very humble to gratitude to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I was in a part of this establishment of this bank from very inception. And Alhamdulillah, just after my graduation and after doing my PhD in Islamic Banking and Finance and specialization from Jamia Al-Ulum Karachi in Islamic Jurisprudence, so I have taught everything in theory, but I didn't have any practical experience as such. So as soon as I completed or finished my this education, this proposal from Al Meezan University Bank came in 1997. So my father told me that, my honorable father, Mufti Muhammad Taqi Usmani Sahab Madadillahum, he told me that you should work with Irfan Siddiqui to develop the products and all and to advise them. You know that at that point in time, there was no as such Islamic bank in Pakistan. And there were some individuals, some efforts were made, but they were half-heartedly and they were not successful as such. So once when I joined Meezan Bank, so I saw that it is from scratch. Even no murabaha or no transaction was done as such correctly. So I started drafting the products or making the products and agreements and process flows and all. So initially it was very difficult for me to do all these things because all my companions or my team members were not very much aware of Islamic banking. So I had to face always many questions or rationales or something like that. So I came to one day to Irfan Sahab that please allow me to start a Islamic banking course so that they should know what is Islamic banking and what is its fundamental rule and all these things so that they should understand what and why I am saying this. So Alhamdulillah, he agreed and then I arranged a curriculum and then I took a full course within the management. It was very small management. We started from just one room at that point in time. So Alhamdulillah, it took around 6 months and Alhamdulillah, we finished that course. So everyone appreciated and admired so much that they told me that it should be started in IBA. So Alhamdulillah, we started from the first batch in IBA, and you know, mashallah, Ahmed Ali Siddiqui, Faisal Sheikh, Khurram Hilal, Dr. Zishan, and all, you know that they are very famous people in Pakistan or Middle East. They are working from their IBA graduates. So I basically used to teach around 4 or 5 years Islamic banking. Then Alhamdulillah, my students like Ahmed Ali Siddiqui and other people, mashallah, they are teaching there. So I would say that it is a complete ecosystem. It is not just a product development. We have to do capacity building. We have to do some awareness seminars and conferences. And we also have to make a vision that how to take gradually. It's not just shift in one night to transform. And many people say that, you know, that what is the difference in Islamic banking and conventional banking? So basically, I would say that basically it's a journey, as Dr. Isha Saab has said today, that inshallah, we will continue with this journey. And I hope that there will be a day that inshallah we will get the objectives of Sharia, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Imran. Amir, moving on to you. आपकी अपनी hiring, जो initial hiring थी मीज़ान में, back in 2006, that was very unconventional. How did it happen?
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अगरचा के जो वालदैन की परवरिश थी उसमें ये बात शामिल थी कि सूदी मामला मैंने ज़िंदगी में कोई नहीं रखना और ना मैंने कोई फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन कभी ज्वाइन किया उससे पहले आफ्टर माय क्वालिफिकेशन. बट दी स्टोरी स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम ए वर्कशॉप ऑन इस्लामिक बैंकिंग arranged by Meezan Bank for its customers or potential customers. So I used to work for a petroleum company and I was very passionate then even about Islamic banking, but as an outsider I was not very clear. I always thought it's a very good initiative to give an alternative to riba. So we took Meezan Bank on board. It was a difficult journey, but Meezan Bank was one of our banks. So I was there in that session. It was a very informative session. Najmul Hassan Saab, who later became my boss also, gave a presentation, and one very interesting element which I learned was the use of KIBOR for benchmarking Sharia compliant products. After that workshop, Irfan Siddiqui Saab was there to join the participants on lunch. And during the lunch, I introduced myself to him. And I told him that earlier I was okay working for a refinery, thinking कि मैं तो सूद से कोई लेना देना नहीं रखता, but इस refinery की banking requirement इतनी बड़ी है कि मीज़ान बैंक उस वक्त इसको पूरी नहीं कर सकता. तो बाकी बैंक से जो refinery काम करती है, तो आज मैंने जो हदीस सुनी है कि सूद लेने वाला, सूद देने वाला, सूद लिखने वाला और सूद की गवाही देने वाला, तो इसमें तो मुझे परेशानी हो रही है कि मैं शामिल हो गया हूँ. सो इसका मुझे हल नहीं समझ में आ रहा. और इरफान साहब ने मुझे नहीं मालूम कि वो सीरियस थे या मजाक कर रहे थे उस वक्त मेरे साथ, लेकिन उन्होंने मुझे स्पॉन्टेनियसली कहा कि मीज़ान बैंक आ जाओ.
Okay.
और उसके बाद ऑन द वे बैक वन ऑफ माई कुलीग Khalilullah Sheikh, who later became president of ICAP also, and he's sitting here, he's raising his hand. He said to me कि आमिर भाई आपको ना मीज़ान बैंक जाना चाहिए. तो मैंने इससे कहा भाई मुझे क्यों जाना चाहिए, तुम खुद चले जाओ. तो इसने कहा नहीं, आप जैसे लोगों की इस्लामिक बैंकिंग को ज़रूरत है. And then after a few days I called Najmul Hassan Saab, who later became my boss, and he was so happy that a corporate customer has called him, so he invited me on a lunch without knowing कि ये तो इंटरव्यू देने आ रहा है. तो मेरा इंटरव्यू लंच पे हुआ. सो इन्होंने बड़ा अच्छा नैंडोस खिलाया जो उस वक्त. और उस इंटरव्यू के दौरान मैंने इन्हें, उस मुलाकात के दौरान मैंने इन्हें कहा कि सर मैं मीज़ान बैंक ज्वाइन करना चाहता हूँ. एंड ही वाज वेरी वेलकमिंग. So despite being somebody with no banking experience at all, and Najam Saab is also a very unconventional hire. He was an aeronautical engineer, used to head a company, an automobile company before joining Meezan Bank, never worked for a bank, and he joined as country head of corporate banking for Meezan Bank. So उसके बाद जो है एक इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाया गया आरिफ साहब और इरफान साहब के साथ. और मैं भी बड़ा पैशनेट था, शायद जज्बाती भी था. मैंने कहा मैं प्रेजेंटेशन दूंगा कि इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग कैसे करते हैं. नाउ यू कैन इमेजिन, बैंकिंग की नहीं है ज़िंदगी में कभी और इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग पे प्रेजेंटेशन दे रहे हैं. बट आई वाज हायर्ड ड्यूरिंग द प्रेजेंटेशन, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह.
Okay. The rest, as they say, is history. Amir joined Meezan in the investment banking and then moved through the ranks, became the head of investment banking, then the head of corporate investment banking, then joined Bank Islami as CEO, and now is back at Meezan as part of the succession plan to take over as CEO later this year. Amir, I'd like to quickly ask you, and I think there's no better person than you to answer this. What does it actually take to succeed in Meezan's culture?
बहुत आपने अच्छा सवाल पूछा है, मुश्किल भी है साथ में, लेकिन ऑडियंस के लिए मैं इसका जवाब ज़रूर देना चाहूँगा, सो दैट स्पेसिफिकली द एस्पायरिंग इस्लामिक बैंकर्स कैन टेक लेसन्स आउट ऑफ इट. जो मीज़ान बैंक के अंदर सबसे ज़्यादा तवज्जो दी जाती थी हमेशा, और जो मैंने खुद भी थी, वो थी लोगों को हायर करते हुए, हाउ पीपल आर बीइंग इंडक्टेड इनटू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. एंड मीज़ान बैंक में मैंने ये देखा कि ज़्यादा ये कोशिश की जाती थी कि सो रज़ा साहब मुझे कह रहे हैं कि जल्दी ख़त्म कर लें. सो आंसर इसका है लंबा, इसको शॉर्ट करते हैं. तवज्जो ये दी जाती थी कि पैशन हो इस्लामिक बैंकिंग का, और दूसरा जो है वो टैलेंट होना चाहिए. आई थिंक ये दो हमेशा हायरिंग करते हुए मैंने भी ये फॉलो किया. सेकंड चीज़, मीज़ान बैंक का कल्चर हमेशा से एक लर्निंग कल्चर था और एग्जीक्यूशन वाला कल्चर था और ओपन कल्चर था. एक्सेस टू इरफान साहब एंड आरिफ साहब वाज वेरी इजी. और उस वक्त मैंने जो है आने के बाद कुलीग्स बड़े हेल्पफुल थे, अहमद अली सिद्दीकी, डॉक्टर इमरान. सो बैंकिंग लॉज का मुताला कि क्या रेगुलेशंस हैं, क्या लॉज हैं, ना सिर्फ मुताला बल्कि आई वुड से कि मैंने याद कर लिए. देन अहमद सजेस्टेड मी टू रीड आईओफी, सो आईओफी के शरिया स्टैंडर्ड्स भी मैंने याद कर लिए. एंड देन वी वर्क टुगेदर अ लॉट ऑन डेवलपिंग प्रोडक्ट्स. और जब हम कोई नई प्रोडक्ट डेवलप कर रहे होते थे, कोई नया स्ट्रक्चर कर रहे होते, तो डॉक्टर इमरान हमारा हाथ पकड़ के ऐसे लेके चलते थे कि वो इंश्योर करते थे कि हम मंजिल तक पहुँचें हर सूरत में. तो उसके बाद चंद सालों के अंदर हमने तकरीबन हर वो प्रोडक्ट अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मीज़ान में बना ली जिससे किसी भी कॉर्पोरेट की या कंज्यूमर की लेजिटिमेट नीड मीट हो सकती है. तो जो कल्चर था वो लर्निंग था, एग्जीक्यूशन ओरिएंटेड था, टैलेंट को प्रमोट करने वाला था, और पैशन ड्रिवन था, पैशन फॉर इस्लामिक बैंकिंग.
Perfect, thank you. So I think just in terms of summing it up, Lots of organizations give a lot of value to experience, but Meezan gave the value to passion for Islamic banking and raw talent, and which is why they hired so extensively outside of banking, and it worked for them. Thank you to our panelists for sharing the human stories, the personal stories, which, to be honest, are often not known outside a small group of people. We've got many such anecdotes related in the book as well when you read them. So thank you again to our panelists. We have a special guest today, Mr. Khurram Shehzad, who's the advisor to the Finance Minister of Pakistan. And Khurram Shehzad has flown in specifically from Islamabad, and he just arrived. And he has a special message from Senator Aurangzeb, who is our Minister of Finance. I'd like to invite Khurram Shehzad to the stage to deliver that message for us.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, sir, thank you very much for inviting me over, and it's a pleasure to be here. This is, of course, a very exciting moment, very exciting day today. और ये मेरा पर्सनल भी एक पैशन रहा है कि इस्लामिक बैंकिंग में somehow कुछ सीख सकें, कुछ contribute कर सकें. And thank you very much, sir, for inviting me over. Meezan Bank has been a journey जो हम सब जब हम young थे, of course, early 2000 में, so we have seen this bank, grow and make an impact. ये आज की बात नहीं है, of course. मीज़ान एक आइकन है, एक आइकन बना, और कैसे बना? इरफान साहब ने तो 8 मिनट में 7-8 मिनट में मैं नोट कर रहा था सर वक्त कि आपने 7-8 मिनट में पूरी जर्नी जो है बयान की है और कितना फ्लॉलेसली और कहाँ से आपने शुरू किया. एंड वी हैड अ डिस्कशन, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर साहब के साथ भी डिस्कशन हुआ जब आपने बुक के लिए कमेंट्स जो है वो रिक्वेस्ट किए, एंड ही वाज वेरी एडमेंट और ही वाज वेरी हैप्पी आल्सो कि उनको ये मौका मिला कि वो इसमें अपना एक्सपीरियंस जो है आपके साथ शेयर कर सकें, एंड ही डिड दैट. और उन्होंने सर फिर हम सब टीम के साथ शेयर किया कि हाउ मीज़ान बैंक वेयर यू स्टार्टेड ऑफ, और कहाँ आप किस तरह से लेके एक छोटे से ऑफिस से आपने स्टार्ट किया, एंड यू एक्चुअली हैड प्रूव्ड कि ये दिखावा कुछ नहीं होता, एक्चुअली आप क्या डिलीवर करते हैं, दैट मैटर्स. एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच सर फॉर मेकिंग दिस इनटू अ नेशनल आइकॉन, an inspiration for all the Islamic bankers, not just Islamic bankers, but bankers in general, or financial institutions in general. And thank you very much, by the way, मैं यहाँ point out करता हूँ for making this empire, this enterprise into a $1 billion company, not just a $1 billion company, but a $3 billion company. और अब तो माशाल्लाह सर जो स्टेलर परफॉर्मेंस दी है मीज़ान ने, इट्स बीन एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी. और मैं तो ये कहूँगा हमारी जो DFI है एक पाक कुवैत, उसकी बुक जो है बहुत ज़्यादा उस पर 4 चांद लग गए हैं आपकी वैल्यूशंस की वजह से माशाल्लाह से सर, फॉर अ $3 billion कंपनी. एंड देन सर योर यंग जनरेशन, आमिर भाई हमारे बड़े अच्छे दोस्त हैं, बड़ा पुराना उनसे भी ताल्लुक़ है. वैसे तो हमारे सारे सीनियर बैठे हैं, बारी साहब बैठे हैं, आरिफ साहब बैठे हैं, हमारे सारे इंस्पिरेशंस हैं, सबसे हमने बहुत सीखा है. और नाउ आप अपने जो मशल है ये अब आप यंग जो है यंगर जनरेशन को देने जा रहे हैं. एंड आई होप कि आमिर भाई एंड हिज टीम वुड मेक इनटू अ डेकाकॉन. ये तो आपने एक जो है वो यूनिकॉर्न बनाई है. बाय द वे नई जो जार्गन है उसमें यूनिकॉर्न कहते हैं जो $1 बिलियन कंपनी होती है, और डेकाकॉन कहते हैं जो $10 बिलियन कंपनी बनती है. आई होप जितनी जर्नी ये आई थिंक अंडर 3 डिकेड्स आपने $3 बिलियन कंपनी खड़ी की है. तो इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट लेट्स से 5 ईयर और 10 years में इंशाल्लाह इट वुड बी अ न्यू डेकाकॉन. तो लास्ट बस मैं ये अमानत जो है मैं पढ़ देता हूँ क्योंकि कोई ख़यानत ना हो इसमें. तो मैं ये पढ़ता हूँ कि जो FM ने जो मैसेजेस आपके लिए भेजे हैं, आपके लिए, पूरी टीम के लिए, हमारी शरिया विजनरी जो है वो जो बोर्ड्स रहे हैं माशाल्लाह उनने बहुत कंट्रीब्यूट किया है और आप एग्जांपल बने. तो मैं 2-4 पॉइंट्स सर FM की तरफ से आपको देना चाहता हूँ. Meezan Bank is a shining symbol of perseverance and faith, built on an unwavering vision of Mr. Irfan Siddiqui Saab and team, and his dedicated team. The second one is, their journey is not just the story of a bank, but of resilience, belief, and the power of values-driven leadership. As Finance Minister, I deeply admire how Meezan Bank had grown into Pakistan's largest Islamic bank and a true national icon. And the last one is, sir, on this momentous book launch and this auspicious occasion, I extend my heartfelt regards and salute to this remarkable journey of inspiration for our nation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Khurram. Thank you. Thank you, Khurram, for particularly coming on such short notice and relaying such a wonderful message from Senator Aurangzeb. Let's move on to our second panel discussion of the day. I'll introduce the panel. I request the panelists and our moderator to come on stage as I introduce them. The panelists include Dr. Ishrat Hussain, Shehzad Naqvi, David Kenny, and the panel is being moderated by Atif Bajwa. If I could please request all of you to come on stage. And while you do come on, I'll just make some brief introductions. I had introduced Dr. Ishrat Hussain earlier. Shehzad Naqvi is actually a school friend of Irfan Siddiqui, and he's a career banker. He's held top executive roles at Citigroup, ABN AMRO, and Royal Bank of Scotland. David Kenny spent 35 years with HSBC internationally, and he was the CEO of HSBC Pakistan when Meezan acquired it in 2014. And I think he's flown in specially for this event this morning from Saudi Arabia. So thank you, David, for coming in. And our moderator, Atif Bajwa, is again an unconventional moderator from the perspective of this being a function of Meezan. He's the CEO of Bank Al Falah, again a career banker who's had leading roles with Citibank and ABN AMRO in Pakistan and abroad. Mr. Bajwa, over to you.
Thank you, Farooq. Assalamu alaikum. This is indeed an August gathering, and I'm humbled to be here as a moderator also because the panel itself is rather stellar, and you've already heard from Dr. Ishrat, but I'll try to ask him a few questions to further give us insights about the story of Meezan. But just before I go into the questions, I'd just like to say that, of course, this is a book that's the story of Meezan. But more importantly, I think it's also a story, a human story of struggle of Irfan and Arif and their teams. And I mentioned teams because I think, as was mentioned earlier, that Irfan, in his usual humility, always gives credit to his team for what has been accomplished. So a lot of has been said, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into some aspects, but I'd just like to touch upon three aspects before I go on to the questions. First, of course, Meezan is an exceptional success story. But actually, we didn't see it coming. In 2002, when you gave the license, we didn't really necessarily take it seriously, that this would turn into a success. And of course, to become an icon in the banking industry and be the force that transforms the financial industry and this Islamic finance industry as well. Success, of course, has been anchored because of Irfan's extraordinary clarity of vision and mission. And I think we need to give him a lot of credit for that because he set out to prove a point that a truly Islamic financial institution can succeed in a modern world. But we also must remember that there is another part of that success. Irfan deserves a lot, but as we heard earlier, I think he owes a lot to Razala Bhabi. And we, of course, heard that she was the one who highlighted to you, as you have relayed to us many times, that she is the one who highlighted to you that there is a need to move the needle as far as riba-free banking is concerned. So I'm very happy that today this was also celebrated. But of course, this also proves the point, that most important decisions for us men are made by our wives. And we end up very proudly taking credit for it, but you know where the credit should really go. So I'm glad today, Ghazala Bhabi, thank you very much that you did what you did to bring this institution to where it is today. The second point I just wanted to quickly highlight is that there are three distinguishing features. There are many, of course, but three that I'd just like to highlight of corporate success. One is long-term strategy and planning. The second is longevity of management and a management that truly believes in that strategy. And the third is consistent and disciplined execution of that strategy. And Irfan, you managed to bring all these three elements to Meezan, and look where that has taken the institution. And the last point I'd like to mention is my own experience. Irfan, of course, we all know him as a successful banker, a successful Islamic banker. But in my capacity as a fellow of the community, as a competitor, as a friend, I'd like to say that he is not only a successful Islamic banker, but he is the embodiment of the teachings of Islam as a human being. Irfan, I have the deepest regard and respect for you. You have done justice to Islam. You have done justice to banking. You have done justice to humanity. And importantly, you've done justice to Pakistan. Thank you very much. So with that, if I can move to the questions, Dr. Saab, starting with you. Of course, this is mentioned in the book, that at the time of approving the license for Meezan, it was an interesting time, and it was the first time it was being done. It was a bold decision on your part. But I thought a bolder decision that is mentioned in the book is that you made it very clear that this license is being given only if Irfan is the CEO. Otherwise, there is no license. So that boldness and that clarity of conviction that he is the man, we'd like to get a little bit of color on why you thought that Irfan is the only man who can do this for Pakistan.
I think history has proved as to my judgment was wrong or right. So after 23 years, you can see the results. And the reason, I believe that a person who is in a leadership position, his only task is to select the right person for the right job. If he has done it, then everything follows. And there's nothing you can really regret about. When they were having second thoughts, whether the license should be transferred to his parent company, Park Kuwait, I discovered by doing due diligence on the personalities of both the institutions, Irfan and also the other gentleman. And what Irfan pointed out to you, that he was not just establishing a bank, he was fulfilling his own passion to create Islamic banking in Pakistan. To me, that passion and that commitment was the decisive factor. If you don't have passion, if you don't have dedication, it would have been another 9-to-5 job, which I was not prepared to grant a new license for that. And at that time, the Supreme Court was on our heads because they said you have to transform the system by June 30th, 2001. And we had to convince the president, we had to convince the cabinet, we had to convince everyone that no, we will do parallel banking, we'll keep the conventional banks as well as the Islamic bank, and let the people of Pakistan decide whether they want to go to Islamic bank or they want to go to the conventional bank. Who are we to impose our judgment? So to me, it was also a very difficult task that I should have a solid Islamic bank which can provide that opportunity for the customers to choose. And I thought Irfan will be able to do it. And I did that also for your colleague for microfinance. You know, Nadeem had never done any microfinance. But my own judgment was that he will do a great job, and he did. So this is what I believe, that if you select the right person, their job is done. And that's why I insisted on him that he should remain the chief executive, whether the license will not be given.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Clearly, your reputation as an institutional builder, everyone knows about. But I think today you've also given insights that you're also a great judge of character and a great judge of potential and talent and passion.
Diligence, that's very important. Yes. I carried out, he talked about Sheikh Ibrahim. I knew Sheikh Ibrahim. And there are many other people. And I carried out my own, due diligence before I decided that this is the way it will be.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. If I may, I'll move on to Shehzad Naqvi. Shehzad is an ex-boss. More importantly, he's a very close friend. I think everybody in the industry knows him. Stellar career. Again, a very bold personality. And also a very colorful personality. So today he's wearing a three-piece suit, which, well, at least a double-breasted suit. But, normally you would find him much more casual. I think in his more casual days of a student, he knew Irfan from school. And what we'd really like to know, Shehzad, is you must have some interesting stories to tell about Irfan from those days. And perhaps you can be a little bit colorful in the way that, but of course, nothing that needs to be censored. But we'd like to learn a little bit more in a light-hearted manner about the early days of Irfan.
So in my view, this story started one day when we were in our first year. Irfan and I have been together since kindergarten. And he was not a very good student. So he did not get admission into the A-level class first time around. Usually what happens is that a number of students are given conditional admission and some of them don't meet the conditions, so they are kicked out and the next batch comes in. So he was one of those. Now, in the meantime, little known to any of us, he had been researching how do I do this thing privately, which nobody had ever thought of before Irfan Siddiqui. And I remember one day in 1973, we were standing outside the school at home time. And we were both 17 years old at the time. And in those days, your A-level exams were taken in December, which was December 1974 for us. And then we'd wait 9 months before we went to college. So Irfan Mia says to me, yaar, main ja raha hu. मैंने कहा यार किधर जा रहे हो क्या हो गया तुम्हें So he said, no, ये देख मुझे दाखला मिल गया है मैं जा रहा हूँ ये कोर्स करने फाउंडेशन कोर्स इन अकाउंटेंसी I was shocked मैंने कहा यार कैसे जा रहा है तू barely O level पास किया उसके बाद सर नहीं मैंने A levels दे दिए मुझे ये conditional acceptance मिली and I'm pretty sure I'll get these grades and I'm going so he went this is it really embodies the determination, the street smart chops that Irfan has, and the raw intelligence. And so in 1973, in September, he went and did this course. And 9 months later, he was earning his own living, and he became a chartered accountant, interned with, articled with Coopers and Lybrand. And he became a chartered accountant when all of us were barely conscious. And he got his first job, and he's had a stellar career since. So in my mind, the story really began at that time, that this focus, this determination, and this perseverance in achieving results led him to where he is today. Another story, not from our school time, but later on when we both started working. I was working in Singapore at that time, and he was in Park Kuwait, and he was concerned about Park Kuwait because, you know, he had inherited a history of bad behavior and unprofessional actions, etc. And Park Kuwait was not a very healthy institution. So he had called me and he said, you know, when you come, I want you to come and spend some time with me. And as it happened, in my holidays, I was in Karachi, and I went and spent 3 or 4 days with him at Park Kuwait. And while we were sitting there, one of his people came to him and brought a proposal to change the flooring of the floor he was sitting on. And suddenly he looks up, he says, ki yaar, 200 rupees square foot, bhai, itne mein to ghar banta hai. So this is the approach he brought to rolling out these 1,200 branches and building his office, and the tremendous cost discipline that you see across Meezan. And this is not conjusi. He has cost discipline. He spends money, but he gets value for what he spends. So, I mean, these are the two stories I have.
Excellent. And I also heard another story, which you can confirm, that at the time he was running the investment bank, you actually went up to him in your usual bold style and said to him, Irfan, tum investors ka paisa dubo doge. So did you say that to him, and why? And are you eating your words?
No, I'm certainly eating my words, and I did absolutely say that to him because it's my view that investment banks are not viable institutions. And you know the finance business as well as I do. In the finance business, unless you leverage your capital, unless you build scale, you don't do anything. And I think intrinsically Irfan knew that. But the investment bank, I now realize, was his initial route to his eventual journey. And the game changer, in my view again, is when Ishrat Saab approved the merger with Society General, and he got the license to become a bank. And then he has gone on to leverage his capital intelligently. If you look closely at the capital management behavior of Meezan, they are very aggressive dividend payers. And the reason for that, in my view, I haven't talked to him about this, but in my view, it's to keep an efficient balance at the frontier between adequate capital to guard against risk and enough leverage to generate the kind of returns his investors rightly would expect.
Thank you.
But I absolutely told him that, and I told him in no uncertain, colorful terms that this is what he's going to do.
Absolutely, I'm sure you did. So thank you, Shehzad. So David, thank you for coming and joining us from Saudi Arabia. Of course, David is the man who's married to Pakistan, literally. So he's got a Pakistani wife, he has a home here as well, but he's now running a Saudi investment bank, and we hope that in this new era of friendliness between Saudi and Pakistan, that you'll be playing an even more important role. My question to you, of course, you were running HSBC in Pakistan. You've had a long, stellar career in HSBC. At that time, you were running HSBC in Pakistan when HSBC decided to exit and sell its business here. And Of course, the deal was struck with Meezan Bank. In any acquisition or sale, there are concerns that develop. Of course, you want to make sure that your customers are looked after, your employees are looked after, your brand is looked after. So, what kind of concerns did you have, and what was your experience in the integration process? Were they managed well, both from your side and also, of course, from Meezan? And are you happy with the end result?
Well, thank you very much, Atif, for the welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank Irfan for the invitation to come on this auspicious occasion. Closer? Okay. So, yeah, pleasure to be here. It's a good question in terms of the focus, I think, of both HSBC and of Meezan at the time of the acquisition was that we did want to ensure, as you say, that continuity in terms of transition. The staff, basically Meezan offered all of our employees positions based upon looking at their job experience and their technical abilities and trying to fit round pegs into round holes in Meezan. And I think even today there are a lot of people working in Meezan Bank, ex-HSBC employees who are enjoying their time in Meezan and have continued their careers as part of that transition. So that was an important factor. Also in terms of looking after the customers and ensuring that they had a smooth transition from one bank to another and one type of banking to another, from the more conventional to the Sharia compliant. And again, I think that was a very well managed by Meezan in terms of the transition. And there were also other things such as the relationship with the regulators, with the State Bank of Pakistan. Meezan was able to discuss with the State Bank its plans and how things were going to happen, which gave the regulator a lot of confidence that they were the right bank to acquire HSBC. And it also gave HSBC top management in London the same kind of feeling of confidence that it was the right bank to deal with. So all of those things were looked at, and I think well managed, both from the HSBC side and particularly, of course, from the Meezan side.
Thank you, David. I'd just like to, at the end, thank the panelists. Very interesting discussions, some good personal anecdotes and professional ones. Thank you very much.
Could I just request our panelists and moderator to stay on stage and request Irfan Siddiqui and Amir Ali to present the book to our panelists and our moderator. Ji. Ji. Huh? Ji, and I would also like to call Dr. Imran on stage, please. Can we also take a picture, Amir? Yes. We do have arrangements for namaz in the hall, so we will be. We can offer our prayers right after this ends. Thank you. I think one takeaway from this panel, One takeaway from this panel is that for all of us with young children, we don't really need to be worried about the O-level results. It seems to have an inverse correlation with success in life. For those of us who are lucky enough to know him personally, it is quite obvious that Irfan Siddiqui is cut from a different cloth. Jim Collins, in his book Good to Great, highlights that all great companies have at their helm a level 5 CEO. In Irfan Siddiqui, Meezan has been extremely fortunate to have someone who fits that description perfectly. Extremely humble and down to earth, yet extremely ambitious at the same time. But ambitious not for himself, but for the company and cause he serves. A man of substance, of character and conviction. His eye for talent is really strong, and he's equally adept at developing that talent. With Ariful Islam, he forged a partnership that was truly effective, aligning shared values with complementary skill sets. With Sayyid Amir Ali, he recognized early the potential to be a worthy successor and has trained him for that role without insecurities. Irfan Saab has also written an extremely thought-provoking epilogue in the book, which I would encourage all of you to read. Ladies and gentlemen, with a well-deserved round of applause, let's welcome on stage Mr. Irfan Siddiqui.
Right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you, Atif. Really humbled. I don't know how to say that. I thought after your talk, I'll find it very difficult to even speak out. And thank you to Dr. Ishra Sahab as well and all the other panelists. I'm not used to getting these kind of things, and in fact, I shy away from that. So thank you so much. We are running a little bit against time because that clock doesn't stop. That's why Shehzad is still young, because, for him it stopped. So मैं sorry वो formalities नहीं करूँगा. Who's here? I come straight to what I wanted to say. That Alhamdulillah, I really feel that ये book launch का event जो है वो मेरे लिए बहुत बड़े मायने रखता है और बहुत खुशी का बायस है कि जो ख्वाब हमने 32 साल पहले देखा था वो उसका part A, I feel alhamdulillah complete हुआ है. So it's only part A, right? And inshallah ta'ala part B, मैं आगे जाकर उसको वजाहत करूँगा कि what I mean by part B. So the part A, the main thing which was highlighted in this panel as well was to get the license for the investment bank, for Meezan Investment Bank. शहजाद I thought किसी को मार रहे थे, मच्छर को मार रहे थे वो. तो investment bank का माशाल्लाह हमें license मिल गया. And the vision statement which our team developed, there were a total of 9 staff members in Meezan Investment Bank at the end of first year who actually sat down together and drafted this vision statement. There was no consultant, no nothing. And the vision statement was drafted to establish Islamic banking as banking of first choice. Establish Islamic banking as banking of first choice. बनाने क्या जा रहे थे? Investment bank. And like we all know that investment bank has got no hope in hell to be really able to become the bank of choice for any corporate, because it can hardly do maybe 1% of the work which a commercial bank can do. But nevertheless, we got the license. There was quite frankly no aspiration at that time for a commercial banking license. But like Shehzad said, that maybe in the back of the mind there was something कि भाई कुछ करना है हमें, लेकिन वो सामने का plan नहीं था. So, definitely it was a tall order. And then 2002, Hanif Akai sahab yahan baithe hai. Where is he? Can you raise hand? Yeah, he's sitting right in the front. So I got a call from Hanif Akai that 3 of my French senior colleagues are there, one from France, one from London, and one was the country manager Pakistan, and they want to come and see you. So मैंने कहा ज़रूर आएं. What's the purpose? He said, just want to have a cup of tea. तो वो फ्रेंच थे, मैंने कहा कोई क्रेप श्रेप मंगाए उनके लिए, तो बस, लेकिन यहाँ तो मिलते नहीं है, तो बस चाय पे गुजारा था. तो they came for a tea, and in that conversation they said that, we've decided to exit Pakistan, and we were wondering if Meezan Investment Bank would be interested to buy us out or to acquire us. And literally I told him just like that, being an investment bank, we can't acquire a commercial bank. And also, we are not just an investment bank, we are an Islamic investment bank. So obviously you are a conventional bank. So they went away. And long story, Shaukat Aziz Saab called for some other information. I told him about these French guys coming, and he told me कि उनको हाथ भी मत लगाना because we don't want these Frenchies to go away. But anyway, long story, उसके बाद उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि भाई आप अगर हिम्मत है तो उसको करें, and we'll get it done. In 24 hours, Shaukat Aziz Saab spoke to President Musharraf, who was regarded as the chief those days, chief executive Pakistan. And then Dr. Ishrat as well. And literally next morning, 9 o'clock, I was in Dr. Ishrat's office. और मैं अपने अक्सर बच्चों को भी बताता हूँ, दोस्तों को भी बताता हूँ, इनका ऑफिस की जो लंबाई थी वहाँ पर, उस वक्त तो मुझे लगता था कि वहाँ से घुसेंगे तो पहुँचेंगे कब. But so by the time I entered his door and sat in his chair, he told me कि भाई तुमने क्या बात की है? वो तो कह रहे हैं बना दो बैंक. तो मैंने कहा सर एक्चुअली वी आर नाउ डबल माइंडेड. आरिफ वाज विद मी एंड वी सेड कि भाई हमारी तो हिम्मत नहीं हो रही. तो इनसे पहले लेक्चर सुनने मिला वहाँ पर कि भाई अब तो हो गया, करो. So alhamdulillah, that's how we ended up with a commercial bank. In fact, the license which was issued was signed by Qadi Muqtadir Sahab. तो आज हमने बुक में वो प्रिंटेड है वो, तो इन पर इनकी ऑफिशियल साइन भी दोबारा करवा ली हैं उसको. तो थैंक यू काजी साहब फॉर दैट थिंग. तो डॉक्टर इशरत ने तो चीज़ें बता दी हैं, तो आई स्किप ऑल दोज थिंग्स. तो जो हमारा फर्स्ट बिजनेस प्लान बना, and the architect of business planning was Arif al-Islam Sahab, who was with me as the deputy CEO. In fact, I always felt that he was with me as a co-CEO, but he was the deputy CEO. So he was the architect of our business planning. And we made 5 business plan, strategic plan over this period. And alhamdulillah, everything which we decided कि यहाँ होना चाहिए वो हुई हैं, except there was one thing which didn't happen. So Arif felt at that time, and I concurred with that, that we should be a 25 branch network, long term. I mean, not short term, कि भाई हम 25 branches खोलेंगे, अब license मिल गया, so that we were able to do LCs and foreign exchange and etc. But no big network. I had never worked in a network bank, and neither did Arif उस तरह से. So that assumption went wrong, because when we opened branches, people started demanding कि भाई यहाँ भी खोलें, वहाँ भी खोलें, and alhamdulillah, the moment you open branches, they became packed with customers. तो अल्लाह के शुक्र से वो चीज़ें होते रहीं और आगे बढ़ गई. तो उसमें obviously सक्सेस जो है वो बाकी सिर्फ अल्लाह और अल्लाह ताला की करम से ही होती है. हम तो एक कॉग होते हैं उसमें to do that. और इसका obviously the राज यही है कि we had a strict adherence to Sharia, and we focused on the culture we nurtured, जिसमें humility, simplicity, collaboration, gratitude, and a lot of things were included. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, Hussain Dawood Sahab invited me for dinner at his house because he'd invited a professor from Oxford University to do. He was head of the character education of Oxford University. So this professor, can't remember his name, was telling me that most of their clients are banks in London because they feel that the character has eroded on that side. So that's why we are going into character education for university education and all these things. The dean of KSBL is also there. They had a session with him. So I told him, you should come to Meezan, and whatever you were trying to teach is being practiced there. So बाद में उनका मेरे पास email भी आया, उन्होंने book भी मांगे मुझसे जो मुझे आज के बाद भिजवानी थी. But really, alhamdulillah, what Oxford is trying to do now, and he said, Atif was there as well that day, and he was saying that this is now big time thing in the US as well, and they're exporting this knowledge base to America as well. So my thinking was that, alhamdulillah, we are already doing that. दूसरी चीज़ जो है मीज़ान में is blessed with the continuity of management, the board, the Sharia board. I myself have been here 27 years, alhamdulillah. Arif was with me for 25 years, now he's retired. And our founding chairman, Sheikh Ibrahim knows him very well, Sheikh Ibrahim bin Khalifa, he was a chairman of our board for 18 years and never ever missed a single board meeting, never. So that was a record for Sheikh Ibrahim. And then obviously he got busy with his other things, and Mr. Riyad Idrisi from Kuwait took over as our chairman. And he's been there as a chairman for 10 years as well, and again, not missed a single board meeting. Hamara Sharia board, mashallah, from day one has been chaired by Justice Taqi Usmani Sahib, and Dr. Imran Usmani was here, and Sheikh Isam. They've been there with us right from the very beginning till to date, the three members. We've added one more member to it, but primarily that's the Sharia board. तो जिस तरह मैंने कहा था कि ये part A का culmination था, this book, and inshallah with utmost satisfaction, inshallah I will retire on December 29th, end of this year, which happens to be my 70th birthday, and I think Shehzad would also be 70. It doesn't look that old, but I think people should know that. So alhamdulillah, that is a very satisfying thing कि एक अच्छी उससे करें, and part B will be more exciting and vibrant. Amir Ali, where is Amir? Here, Amir. So inshallah, Amir, who's now Dr. Amir Ali, his first 12 years in banking career, like he said, was with Meezan Bank, and then he was picked up as the CEO of Bank Islami. Bank Islami was in difficult situation at that time, mashallah. Amir went and sorted that out, and there was a good turnaround. Or 2 साल पहले, I knew that I'm going to retire at the age of 70, so I asked him 2 years ago, कि भाई तुम अभी से आ जाओ, ताकि you work with me and so that you can take over. My thinking and other people's thinking was कि भाई वो वहाँ CEO काम कर रहा है, अभी आप उसको deputy CEO बुलाएंगे और 2 साल रगड़ा लगाएंगे, तो वो कहाँ आएगा? तो मैंने कहा आ जाएगा भाई, वो यहीं से गया था, यहीं वापस आ जाएगा. So alhamdulillah, it took half a minute for Amir to understand that, and he joined us. And yesterday was his 2nd birthday of Meezan Bank. So he completed 2 years yesterday, Amir. Is that correct? लेकिन इनको अभी 3 महीने और सब्र करना है before he comes and becomes the CEO. तो उसके बाद इंशाल्लाह मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि ये मीज़ान को नेक्स्ट लेवल पे ले जाएंगे. लेकिन जो पार्ट बी की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, पार्ट बी में आर रिक्वायरमेंट विल बी डिफरेंट. आई थिंक आर फोकस विल बी different. I think it was always in that direction which I am talking about, but the focus would be that the government has decided to go full stream Islamic banking, and I think his responsibility would be to see how we can help the system grow in order to take it towards 100% conversion process. Whether it happens 100% or it happens from, right now it's 25%, whether it's 25%, 30%, 80%, wherever it is, I think we have to make our effort to make it go towards that. What towards कहाँ पर होगा, God only knows better. तो उसके लिए obviously my 2 bits to Amir is that one very important thing is the preservation of our core values. Our core values are very clearly defined as Sharia compliance, integrity, and service excellence. और मैं हमेशा अपने colleagues को कहता हूँ, they are not one plus the second and plus the third, they are product of each other. So in between, अगर कोई भी चीज़ 0 होगी, तो then you multiply 0 in between, it will become 0. So you need to make sure that all 3 are safe, heavily safeguarded and implemented in the bank. And then second thing is to stay tuned to the vision of establishing Islamic banking as banking of first choice. और उसमें जो amendments आए हैं, constitutional amendments, तो obviously, mashallah, I'm so happy that there are so many CEOs of conventional banks here. अगर एक raise of hand से कर दे तो पता चलेगा, must be minimum of 10, 12 people who are here as CEOs. And I'm honestly so grateful कि सब यहाँ पर आए हैं, not to listen to a story of बस Meezan Bank or Islamic banking, but I think their commitment that inshallah if the country wants to go Islamic, we would do our best to go towards that. Whether we do a 100% conversion or not, I think that is irrelevant. But we have to make this happen gradually. And even, I mean, so many customers sitting here, our customers' need is also Islamic. I mean, some of them are now only Islamic, so obviously whether they bank with a dedicated Islamic bank or a window of a conventional bank, they're both 100% doable. So inshallah, with that in mind, Amir has to work very closely with the industry to make this happen. So I think time का shortage है, मुझे signal किए जा रहे हैं. तो it is our honor कि आप लोग सब आए यहाँ पर. मैं individual उस पर नहीं जाऊँगा. Jamil Saab was supposed to be here. He called me this morning that I had to go for a meeting which was extremely important, and I'll tell you later on what it was. But right now, I'm so sorry. I wanted to be here, but he said Salimullah Saab would come and do the needful. So I'm grateful to you, Salimullah Saab. You came, although you had agreed to come over, but on that short notice to come and give a small talk on the way forward of where do you see Islamic banking, inshallah. So with that, I would end this conversation, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Irfan Saab. And I think the success of Meezan Bank and the success of Islamic banking in Pakistan overall will be your lasting legacy. So thank you very much. As Irfan Saab mentioned, our guest of honor was Mr. Jameel Ahmed this evening, but in his place we have the Deputy Governor, Mr. Salimullah. If I could please request you to come and speak on the way forward for Islamic banking in Pakistan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Dr. Ishrat Sahab, Irfan Siddiqui Sahab, Yasin Anwar Sahab, Dr. Anayat, my dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure and honor to have this opportunity to speak on this very important occasion. To me, this is not just a book launch. This is recognition and acknowledgement of the great contribution by one man, that is Mr. Irfan Siddiqui. And his contribution, let me say this, and this I'm saying with my heart, that the contribution that he has made in developing the institution from scratch. They were nothing. They were not even having an investment banking license 30 years back and struggling to get an investment banking license. And from that, one of the largest banks in the country, having one of the largest market caps in the banking institutions, and one of the 5 big banks. The contribution towards the Islamic banking industry, when we see the whole industry, more than 35% is Meezan. And that's a huge contribution to me. And when we see the overall workforce, be at the senior level, at the CEO level, the senior management level, or at the operational level, they have their background of Meezan available with them. So Meezan has been that nursery that is developing the Islamic banking and Islamic finance professionals that is feeding the overall industry. And that's a huge contribution. And a great story for learners how to build the institutions. And that is really satisfying that the people who are the scholars that are teaching in various universities, that is being practiced in Meezan. So, Irfan Saab, the industry is really indebted to you. You have done a great job, and we all are indebted to you. Thank you very much. And let me say this, the kind of culture he has been able to develop and the kind of team he has been able to develop. Wherever I see, I can see that the nurturing has been done by Irfan Saab and his team and the people. The baton, Irfan Saab, you are handing over to the CEO, to the upcoming CEO, is, alhamdulillah, has been nurtured by you. And he is one of the most finest bankers, Islamic finance professionals in the country. And we really hope, inshallah, that he will take the institution way ahead. He will build upon further the foundations, very strong foundations that have been built by you, and we would see that the successes, and Shehzad was saying about the 10 billion, I would say even more than that size of the Meezan, inshallah. Not only Meezan, but it will continue to nurture the other institutions as well. And that, Irfan Saab, let me say this. The kind of success Meezan has been able to display and demonstrate, this is itself a source of inspiration for others to try Islamic banking. Because you have proved that Islamic banking can be practiced in a way which is viable, which is sustainable, and which can serve the customer in the best possible way. The one area that I believe Amir would further able to extend is even more focused towards the value proposition and value creation for the clients. Because if we are creating more and more value for our clients, then there is no rationale and there is no reason that the Islamic banking can grow. So we must keep on innovating and coming up with such products and services and systems that could create better value for our clients, that could lead us towards the very objective of Islamic finance and Islamic banking system. And that system envisages a system, as Dr. Ishrat very rightly pointed out, the system that is based on justice, that is based on equity, that is based on fairness, that is based on transparency. And Islamic finance, you would see that it should have sort of a affiliation that when you are talking about Islamic finance, this is understood that we are talking about that it would be fair, it would be equitable, it will have the excellence of services. So that is something that we must create that value. On the regulatory front, let me assure you, Irfan and the others, and the other members and stakeholders, that we would keep on collaborating with the industry so that the regulatory framework should remain conducive for the growth of Islamic finance. We would love that this growth should remain demand-driven. And the value proposition is so strong that the people are demanding that I need Islamic finance, I need Islamic banking. That value proposition should pull and should pull even the conventional people with a conventional mindset to offer the Islamic finance and Islamic banking services. So that we are fully committed and we are fully positive that inshallah, the regulatory framework and the legal framework would remain sportive and would be even more sportive. And that is the culture that Dr. Ishrat has inculcated. It is a consultative culture, that we consult with our stakeholders, with our industry, before we come up with the regulatory framework. So we will keep on giving you a regulatory framework that is conducive for the growth of Islamic finance. And the good signs are that the kind of hurdles that we have been facing with respect to the liquidity management instruments, alhamdulillah, we are also progressing satisfactorily in that respect. And I believe that with the availability of that conducive regulatory framework, as well as the suitable, efficient, and effective liquidity management instruments, there is no reason that we can grow at an even faster pace. So let me congratulate again Irfan Saab for all the contribution that you have made. You are leaving a great, great legacy, and we all are grateful and thankful to you. Thank you very much.
Can I request you to come? Could I request Dr. Inayat as well to come on stage, as well as Mr. Khurram Shehzad and Dr. Irfan Siddiqui and Dr. Amir Ali will present you a copy of the book. Thank you. And Amir. Thank you. Amir, if I could just ask you to stay back. You've been entrusted with leading the next chapter of Meezan Bank, and you'll be taking over as CEO at the end of this year. I'd like to request you to deliver the vote of thanks and the closing remarks.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the last lap. Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am on the podium now to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for gracing this occasion. We would especially like to thank Dr. Ishrat Hussain for contributing an insightful foreword which has added depth and credibility to this publication. We are deeply grateful to Mr. Salimullah and Dr. Inayat Hussain for joining us the event and for their leadership for this industry. We are equally grateful to Irfan Siddiqui Sahab, whose vision and leadership has been central to the success of Meezan Bank. I would also like to thank Dr. Imran Usmani for his guidance and the guidance his esteemed father, Mufti Taqi Usmani, has extended throughout the journey of Meezan Bank. A special note of appreciation is due to the author, Mr. Saptain Naqvi, whose dedicated efforts has culminated into this important publication. I would like to acknowledge Mr. Farooq Kareem for conducting proceedings with utmost professionalism and Mr. Atif Bajwa for moderating the panel discussion so effectively. I would also like to thank our distinguished panelists, David Kenny and Mr. Shehzad Naqvi, for sharing their valuable insight. Today's event is not merely the launch of a publication, but celebration of Meezan Bank's journey from its humble beginning to where it is today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our humble efforts and give us the strength to take Islamic banking to new heights. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Meezan's team, whose dedicated efforts have made all this possible. Thank you once again to each one of you. Arrangement for Maghrib prayers are inside the hall. High tea is being served. And please do not forget to collect the complimentary copy of the book, Unconventional, the bank no one saw coming. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.